Welcome to With Creative Company,
a podcast where we dive deep in all things business as creatives.
We give our personal take on things that actually move the needle,
and also chat with entrepreneurs about their experiences in running a business.
I'm Jordan.
I'm Amy.
Let's get creative. Hello.
Hello, guys.
We're back again.
We're back again. In the future, Jordan might be a mom by the time this episode has been released.
Who knows?
Well, you're a mom now. You're just not officially a mom, I guess.
She's not Earthside. No. She's still Earthside.
I always worded it that way. I mean, technically she is Earthside, but in like
she's here on Earth.
In a weird watery way.
In a weird watery way. What is a great way to start? Yeah, so if you're wondering, maybe I bring up pregnancy, maternity leave. It's because I haven't had my kid yet, but I will soon. All right, Mamie, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about your business self versus your self.
Inception.
A great movie. I think Cillian Murphy's also in that.
Is he really?
He is.
Wow. Do you think he'll come on the podcast?
Sorry, guys. We were literally just talking about that actor. He's definitely in it. He plays the rich man's son.
That's true.
So we're talking about business self versus self-self.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a fun topic. I think it's something, especially if you're starting out, that can feel bigger than it is.
You can also I think has to be a right balance.
Yes.
So finding that right balance, especially when you're starting out, is harder to do.
When you're starting out, sometimes it feels like you have to be in this professional mode all the time so that people know you're professional. And I've been there. I've been that person. It can make you intolerable to be around. Like if you're only worried about how you look and are perceived so that people will take you seriously, you are probably going to feel like a bummer and maybe be a bummer. And I've been that bummer. Versus if you allow your business self to be maybe just you, a slightly more professional version of you, possibly. There are ways you need to present yourself. I think that's really important that you don't try to be a different person.
Well, and as a creative, they're hiring for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the reason that they're hiring you. Mm-hmm. I would hope so, at least, or it has some part played in it. But yeah, I think it's like, so it is so hard, I think, especially maybe if you're a younger person starting your business and you want to be taken so seriously and professionally. And so you may try to put that side out a little bit more, which again is good, right? You need to be a professional. Somebody's paying you money to do something. So there is that line and that balance.
Yes.
I feel like this is a good part and a little segue we could go off of is like becoming friends with your clients.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I think it depends. I have plenty of clients I've become friends with. I wouldn't recommend trying to do that all the time because at a certain point you're going to have too many clients. And honestly, if that's a part of your marketing scheme, there are people who make that work.
I was about to say, we've talked about this. It's part of some people's brand.
It is. I think at a certain point, though, it's a little inauthentic because you cannot be close friends with every single client. There's no way. You can be close friends with them seasonally for the period of time you're working with them. I think that's great if that's what you want to do. It's not what I do. But I do have clients who I've become friends with. And it can be a little scary sometimes at first, I think, because you're like, ooh, what if they don't like me? But that's where I feel like if your business is who you are, then as long as you're not trying to make your business something that you're not, then I think it's really manageable.
Yeah.
It's when you start letting your business be a different entity than you that it can get more complicated.
Right.
And I think it also applies if you're a person who has employees. It's a completely different story than if you're a one-man show.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. I think, too, becoming friends with clients, like it's a double-edged sword almost. Like, I think after the fact, which you, like you just said, you've become friends from clients. And so have we. Like, we've found friends through that. But a little bit harder, too. It's like, when you're friends with your clients, it almost puts more responsibility on you to make sure that you're still being a professional, which is great because they trust you, right? Because there's that friend level of trust or whatever. But then maybe sometimes they think that they may get a discount, or they might, you know what I mean? Like, you just kind of have to almost be a little bit more upfront and professional with like talking about pricing, talking about contracts, like doing, you know, making sure that you're still bringing that professional side, even if it is a friend.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for me, that's another thing, is that if I am close enough friends with someone, I don't charge them for services, not because I don't deserve to be paid, but because I don't want that pressure anymore. Like, I want it to just be something easy and chill.
Yeah.
So it's a very short list. It's not every single person that I'm friends with, but it's like, if I'm a certain amount of close friend with someone, I'm not going to charge them because it's just too complicated.
Same. Yeah.
And I don't want to deal with making it into a business relationship, versus there are other people, you know, there are different categories of friends. And I think sometimes in our society, we don't always want to acknowledge that there are different layers and levels of friendship. I have one single friend I would shoot a free wedding for.
Wow.
That is one.
I don't know if I have one. Weddings are long days.
I don't think my single friend that I would be willing to shoot a wedding for would necessarily let me.
Right.
Like, I don't know that would happen, but she's there. Her name has been written down for a long time.
I know who it is. We won't say any names.
And then after that, it's like, you know, there are things, they're just different. There are different discounts I would offer.
Yeah. That's true. It's like discounting, because it's like you want to, I don't know. It's not even the pressure of like them using you. It's just like, it's nice that I really do think it's an honor when a friend comes to me and asks me to shoot something for them. Because I'm like, I hope I don't put that pressure on people. I hope people around me don't feel that way.
They have to use
They have to use me. But I think it's a great honor.
And I think that's actually a great point to make, is that if you're behaving too serious all the time, you are putting that pressure on people. And maybe not in a bad way, but you in your own mind are like, I'm always in business mode.
Yeah.
And then when someone that you know doesn't hire you, that can be devastating.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've been upset that someone didn't choose me. I'm kind of past that now.
Yeah.
If you want to hire someone else, do it. You have a million reasons that you probably could.
Right.
But I think that's really important. I also think, like, for me, when I started my business, I just took it. I had this person I wanted to be, and I still struggle with this sometimes. I want to be viewed a certain way by people. And the hard thing is choosing if you want to be yourself or if you want to be viewed a certain way. And right now, I try as much as I can be to be myself, but I still fall into it sometimes where I'm like, well, this doesn't look artistic enough. I don't seem creative enough. I don't seem abnormal enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? Who cares?
Right.
Because if you're truly being who you are, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think you can really fall into that, though, where you start catering to what you think other people want. And that might help you in your business, but I think it's not going to help you in your relationships or in the long run.
I agree. I think that in kind of simpler terms, it's like you're almost following the trends at that point.
Yes.
Right? So you're going to fall out of touch at some point.
Yeah. Or have to totally rebrand every year.
Yes. Like, how stressful would that be?
Yeah.
And I think staying true to who you are throughout that, like, it's going to build you the longevity that you need to have to run a successful business over time, not just the next viral hot thing on TikTok or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is cool. This conversation is going in a cool direction.
Yeah, I feel like it's because it's abstract. Like, we've had episodes that are more tangible. I feel like recently some of our episodes are a little bit more like, this is our opinion and how we feel about it.
Yeah.
From business experience. Like I started my business at 15, which barely even counts as starting a business.
But it does.
But I started then, and I had Instagram immediately. And I had this way I wanted people to see me immediately. And what's funny is I look back on it and I'm like, this is garbage. I can't believe this, that I thought this was like professional. I did some insane stuff on social media.
I
Just
hope you saved it
cringy.
all.
It's in my my Instagram.
It's still there? You didn't
memories.
archive it?
No, I mean like my stories,
Oh,
like my
okay.
memories on my Instagram stories pop up,
Right.
and I took those so seriously, and they're so
Amazing.
bad.
I can't wait to look.
There, I will show you some. It's bad. But I was trying so hard, and I was so nervous about it all the time. And if a post didn't get enough likes, I would delete it.
Mm,
And if I didn't feel like someone was taking me seriously enough, I would be more serious.
right.
And now it's like if I post something and it doesn't get enough likes, my likes are hidden. So no one's going to know but me.
Right.
If I am not vibing with someone and I wish they would hire me, then we're just not vibing and they're
Right.
not going to hire me. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because
It's maturing. Maturing.
it
in your
is
business.
maturing. And I
Yeah.
hope that 15 years from now, I have gained even more wisdom
You
and I
will.
feel even better. But if you're
100%.
if you're starting out in any kind of like solo freelance creative field, I would say the sooner you nip that my business self has to be someone completely different from me,
Mhm.
the better.
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel stressed out all the time.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like in my experience with that.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's so funny because I come from a little bit like the opposite side, which is I felt like I had to learn how to be more professional. And I think it hindered me for a long time in becoming a full-time photographer because I wasn't necessarily taking myself serious enough to be the professional I needed to be to book the clients that I wanted to book.
I definitely get that. Yeah.
And so that's why I said, at the beginning of the episode of like finding that balance, because you want to be yourself, you want to be creative, you want to showcase that, but you also have to bring that professional side. And so I think it's interesting that you have the opposite, was like being so serious and taking, being so.
But I'm not saying that always meant that it was the most professional or high quality. It's just that
Right.
like mentally I was overthinking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I mentally was panicked about how unserious people were taking me or whatever.
Right.
And like no qualms to that teenage girl. She was doing what she needed to do. She got me where I am today.
Mhm.
Love that. But that does lead me to, I think, a really important aspect of business self versus self. What do you share?
Ooh.
For example, I am a religious and spiritual person. I'm a Christian. I actually spend a lot of time doing that. I even work part-time for a church.
Yep.
I don't talk about that on my business page very much. I will occasionally briefly mention something that might attribute back to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's some of it's just a sensitivity on my end. I don't want to come across like I'm trying to push something on people. I like to leave that for like personal relationship.
Yeah.
But there are other people who that's such a central point of their business. They're going to talk about it all the time.
True.
And I love that. And I respect that. And sometimes I almost wish I was better at tying in somehow.
Yeah.
But I like to leave that for like, me face to face.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much dynamic on what that can mean to people that I don't want to be misconstrued. I don't want to be seen as something that I'm not.
I feel the same. I don't want to alienate a certain clientele because they saw something on my Instagram that maybe they take it a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree.
But I will allude.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cover up the fact that I feel that way.
Yeah.
That being said, politics, you will see nothing.
Same.
And I do that intentionally. And it's hard because I feel like sometimes in this day and age, people are like, well, if you're not posting about it, you don't care.
Right. If you're not taking a stance, you're taking the other stance or.
And the thing is, I am taking a stance.
Right.
I will take a stance in where I put my money. I will take a stance in how I make my purchases, in conversations that I have. And honestly, I need to be better at taking a stance in what I do with my time.
Yeah.
And who I serve. I should be better at that. But my husband and I take our stances, but I don't do that publicly on social media.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's tempting. Sometimes I'm really tempted to start sharing stuff. And again, it's just, I think it can be so misconstrued and
I
it can be
agree.
so misunderstood.
We live in such a polarized world
Yes. So
these days.
unless it's just the most basic statement.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm careful because even on basic statements, I think sometimes it just comes across as heartless. Like if I'm just sharing
Yeah.
heartbreak over a natural disaster, but I only share it on my Instagram.
Right.
For me personally, that doesn't feel very authentic. I
Yeah.
would rather read about it or message someone in that area or just anything other than share publicly
Yeah.
how I'm feeling.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. Because it's like everybody can share on Instagram, but
Yeah.
are you actually doing, are you
Yes.
doing something about it?
But then there are people who do the exact opposite, and
Mhm.
half of their brand is their fiery stance on a certain topic or a lot of topics.
Yeah.
And that's great for them.
Yeah, and it works for them.
But I think it's because that's a different part of their personality or a different way that they want to come across. But I think you do have to make those choices. I think that's a part of your branding,
Yeah.
and you do have to think about it. Because
Mhm.
if you aren't thinking about it, then you're probably going to mistakenly alienate or maybe mistakenly attract, I don't know,
Yeah.
different people,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
I agree. It is definitely a part of the conversation when you're first starting out, like finding out where you're going to stand. Because I think it's a good thing to like pick a point and like stay to it, like stay on kind of one side that you've done. And I mean, you can always learn and grow and change, and that is great too.
Yeah.
But I feel like a little bit less serious than politics or religion is sharing your personal life on your business page.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, we've touched on this before, but I would love to talk about it more.
And it's interesting because I feel like I used to do that more, and I do want to step back into it a little bit. But also since rebranding and my husband joining the company, it's been a little bit more challenging because I don't want to just share things about me because it's both of us. So I don't want to like think, I just want people to understand that it is us together, and that's.
But you're the social media person.
I am.
Yeah.
So it's harder to do that. And then we've said this before too, but it seems that anything you share personally, people like that way more than anything you ever post. And that's always a little disheartening.
Yeah. Photos of my toddler, my photos.
Literally. Yeah. Where do you go in that?
Where do I go in that?
Yeah.
I think I share a good bit of personal. I think I've talked about this briefly before. The way I handle is I basically utilize my story on Instagram similar to a personal account.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will share snippets of my life, things that I'm doing. Now, I do curate those in a way that I'm comfortable with anyone seeing. A great example of that is that I know a lot of people, especially if they have a public or a business account, they don't share photos of their kid at all.
Yeah.
I totally respect that. I knew it wasn't a boundary I was going to be able to, like for me, it's just not who I am.
I've had to think about that recently.
So what I do is I do not share her name publicly. I do occasionally slip up. I'm not that worried about it. If someone's like that,
They'll be able to find out.
They would find it out.
Right.
But like I try not to because I don't want it to be like in people's minds like they know her.
Yeah.
So I just use a lot of nicknames or just reference her as, baby or squishy or whatever.
Yeah.
As much as I can. And I don't share anything that wouldn't have been included in a wallet in the 80s. So if the photo is something I think would embarrass her in the future, call her out in a bad way, or have inappropriate content, even at this age, I'm not going to share that online because I kind of think of it like it's not a scrapbook.
Right.
It's a wallet.
Right.
It's what I'm showing strangers in public to say, this is my kid.
Mm-hmm. That's what a great way to look at it.
Yeah. And then I utilize my close friend story, which you're on. Obviously, I post on that a lot.
Yeah.
And that's almost where I do most of my like social sharing that's just for fun. And I'm way less filtered on that because I have like 12 people on my close friends. And then I do have a private Instagram account, and it's more like a scrapbook. It's the same line of like, or maybe an extended wallet. It's like I have a few hundred people. It's private.
Mm-hmm.
I share photos so that I can look back on them later, but I don't take it seriously and I don't post on it consistently.
Yeah.
It's almost just a memory book for me to look back on.
Yeah.
Don't go follow that account. I'm not going to accept you.
No hard feelings.
I don't care to have followers on that account. Please go follow my main account. I love having followers there.
Exactly. And you'll still see part of her life.
Yeah, and I do. I honestly share on that way more consistently on my story than I ever would on the other account. And sometimes it's just duplicate images.
But that's important because I think it helps people get to know who you are, especially if you're a person,
Yes.
not a. I mean, you still have a brand, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
You're not a company.
Yeah.
It's you who is showing up and taking the pictures. And same with us. And that's why I struggle with it. I'm like, man, I should really share more about who we are.
Yeah.
Because obviously I don't want it just to be about us. It's not about us. We're there to capture your wedding day. But
people like to know that.
people like to know that, and they like to know who we are. Like that's how we get hired, is after the conversations we've had with people, right? So
Well, and I think it lets me tie into clients more. Like if they know that we have similar interests, if they
Yeah.
know that we've read some similar books, or they know we've drank the similar cocktails or whatever.
yeah,
Like it allows me to tie in more. I think it lets me emphasize my motherhood and my individual businessness more.
yeah,
On the kid thing, I will say I've seen a lot of creators who do post photos of their kids' faces, but who shorten their name to only the first letter. And I think that's super smart. And I've
Yeah.
thought about doing that for our daughter as well, where like you don't share their whole name. It's just the first letter. I think
Yeah.
that's really a good way to go about it. I'm trying to think about like what else I do to have boundaries with my personal or business. I kind of am careful on what I share about B as well, like with Brendan, because he doesn't love to be on social media all the time.
yeah,
So I don't share anything that he doesn't like. Like if he was going to be annoyed that I was going to share something of him, I just wouldn't do it.
yeah,
And then business self versus self. What else do I do? I think sometimes I need to be better about treating my account like a business account in the sense of using it as a marketing tool. I think sometimes I treat it as a portfolio / funsies. And this is in recent years. I think I should be better at remembering that I can really use it to push the fact that I'm selling a product.
yeah.
And that's so hard.
It is hard. I think I've told you this, but I mean, Instagram is one of the main ways we get clients. And it's amazing because it's a free marketing tool. And I have challenged myself in the past to just literally post every day for 30 days. And
Yeah.
I'm not joking you, we got clients because of it.
Yeah.
And so it's right. It's like finding that balance of like, this is a marketing tool, put yourself out there.
Yes.
Right? Like, because I used to be the same way. I'd be like, is this picture perfect? But the edit could be a little different, or this,
Yes.
whatever. And it's like, put it out there, man.
Yes.
Like, but again, you also don't want to misrepresent yourself. You don't want to be posting work that you're not necessarily proud of, or you don't want to do that again.
Mhm.
And I think that's like an interesting thing. I stopped posting. We just post wedding stuff now, because that's the main thing that we're doing at the moment. And so it's funny because I'll have some clients like previous, or just people reach out and be like, do you do maternity, or do you do
Yeah.
this? And I'm like, yeah, I do. But it's a fair question because I don't post about it.
Yeah.
So they're not seeing it. So I
Yeah,
think
I
that
don't-
has a,
I don't think I share portrait sessions like seniors.
yeah.
Except on my story.
Mm-hmm.
And I will share them on my story, but I don't share them as main posts. I only share weddings, family, and like creative portraits.
Yeah.
And it's for the same reason. It just also at a certain point it just looks like too much on your like it gets
I agree.
confusing, I feel like.
Yeah. Clear
Um,
messaging. This is what we do.
Yes. And then also like I think that's another important thing on like knowing what you want to do. And I know that's not quite on topic, but like for example, there are two things I do not do. One is lingerie sessions or like pre-wedding whatever
Boudoir.
Yeah, that word. I don't do those. I tried it one time. I just didn't feel super great about it. Didn't
Mhm.
love the art. I hated the editing process. I just didn't like feeling that up close and personal with someone else.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's no qualm to them.
Right.
I just didn't feel super great about it. I also feel like even if I did do that more, I would not post it because
yeah.
I would be so picky with the clients I would be willing to accept, because you have to have such a trust with that person. And it's not about like what they look like or who they are. It's about if you know them. And I would have to have a relationship with that person
Yeah.
where I felt comfortable.
I think it'd also just be weird to be like posting a boudoir session and then like a family session with
Yes.
a baby.
That could be true. And then the other thing I don't do is newborns. I will do newborn sessions in home with families, but what I will describe to people if they reach out about a newborn session is I will do family sessions that include a newborn and individual photos of the newborn.
Yeah.
I do not put the newborn in a basket.
Same. I call them lifestyle because I'm not and I have a studio. Like I could do it, but it's just not me.
I just can't. I can't do the little froggy things.
Yeah.
It's a whole art on its own.
It is. And there's some people that do it really well.
And I think that they're really focused on it. That's like their thing.
Yeah.
It's not me, so I just don't do it.
Yeah. I agree. I'm the same.
And so you would never see me post that. But I think that's just something where I had to know myself as a person
Yeah.
and then tie that into my business, because I would not enjoy doing that. I wouldn't feel artistic about it. It is artistic. I just wouldn't feel that way,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great place. I don't know if I have anything else.
Yeah, I think we basically covered it. I will say, so Jordan is about to have a baby. She probably has already had the baby by the time we've released this, since we batched it ahead of time, like productive people.
Yes. Preparation.
And then I'm also set to have a baby soon.
Yay.
So depending on how everything plays out, we are taking a little bit of a break. Not officially announced on how long that's going to be. We definitely are planning to continue doing this. It's been such a fun experience. We don't want to quit.
Definitely not. Just a little time.
But we are going to be taking a little leave of absence.
Yes.
And we are super excited to share more with you guys soon.
Yep. Thanks so much for listening so far. We're really excited to see where this goes. Yeah. And we hope that we're serving you guys. And we're just excited to keep doing it here in a little bit.
So in the meantime, you can follow us on with.creative company. And we will announce when our next episode is coming out.
Yep. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
Yep. Have a great week, or however long it is.
Yes. We're going to go have some babies. Bye-bye.